In the last 2 months, I made over $500,000 shorting ETH and alts from the market top. In this video, I'll explain why I decided to short $1 million of ETH again, because I think it's headed much lower. So let's go over the ETH bear thesis recap. I spent 2 months on this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But the part one of the ETH short was understanding that MSTR and Michael Saylor, they're out of money. Therefore, a Q4 pump is unlikely, especially after the October 10th liquidation event. So it made sense to short ETH above $4,000. That was a fairly simple trade. So yeah, MSTR, MNAV just keeps dwindling. It kind of reminds me of last cycle near the market top. And if Saylor can't buy, we lost one of the largest marginal buyers of Bitcoin, which is not great. And the question I posed my audience was, what happens to ETH and alts if the guaranteed Q4 pump doesn't materialize? Everything goes lower, right? That's kind of what happened. And October 10th was good, I guess, a catalyst for everything happening, because you should expect the fundamentals of ETH and the Solana and all these infra coins to get much worse once alts went down, because you should expect less DeFi TVL, because the reasons to deploy capital on chain is for the yield, and the yield comes from altcoins. And you can kind of see that, yes, just understanding the altcoin market can allow you to understand, I guess, or alts going down is kind of like a leading indicator of on-chain adoption, because after a big liquidation event, people are going to pull back capital. So now I think we're in part two. I think it's similar to part one. Tom Lee was always a part of shorting ETH, because I just thought that he pumped it above fair value. So shorting it back down made sense. But I still think he is propping up ETH, which makes it an interesting opportunity, because I think once he is out of money or starts to run out of money, ETH will actually converge to fair value. I do think ETH wants to go lower, but Tom Lee is preventing it from going lower. And at some point, he will run out of money. And the entire thing with DATs, or digital asset treasury companies, is, I don't like them, right? No one got into crypto wanting to study DATs. It's just that they are in control of the market, in my opinion. They are in control of the flows, the marginal flows in crypto. So we have to study them. And I think Tom Lee just pumped ETH a lot, and now that he's starting to buy less and less ETH over time, I think ETH will converge to fair value. I don't know what fair value is, but it's probably going to be much lower. You can kind of see this is, I guess, Tom Lee activity, right? He just buys a lot above 4K. He's still buying a lot, honestly, which I've been really surprised by. But if you understand how DATs work, when crypto is going up, people pile into these things because it's very reflexive, right? So these DATs, they buy a lot on the way up, and then once things go down for a prolonged period of time, they can't really buy over a prolonged period of time. So recently he's been spending roughly $300 million of cash to buy ETH every single week. In this environment, that's very, very impressive, right? Tom Lee, he is a wizard, honestly. And recently in the Binance Blockchain Week, he mentioned that ETH is bottomed, right? We thought ETH is bottomed, so we are buying more. The fair value is 12K to 22K. Maybe he made a typo. I think the fair value, I think he should cut a zero from 12K to 22K, and that's probably where fair value is. But to each their own, right? Anyone can say whatever they want. I just think that the markets right now are just a bunch of rich people just PvPing each other, and there's really not that much edge to be had. And I think we're kind of in this phase where the DATs sent all these things much higher, and people are trying to figure out, okay, maybe that was a little too euphoric, and the fair value is much lower. And that's kind of what I'm betting on. I'm not like a doomer, honestly. I'm a crypto bull. My loyal followers know that, or longtime followers know that. Right now, I'm just denominating in cash, and I think the way to accumulate more cash is to just short ETH. That's kind of what I'm doing. I don't know. I feel like shorting ETH is a very, very simple strategy that keeps working. You just have to understand. Sometimes it pumps because of random factors, like Tom Lee's, right, coming in. But once they buy a bunch, and once they're less of a factor in markets, it just starts dripping lower. And yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at, I think.